Well, it didn't take too long for Gunfire Games to announce another entry in the Remnant universe. Yesterday, we saw a very short announcement trailer and an even shorter gameplay footage of Chronos Before the Ashes, which is a prequel to Remnant. Now, this game is based off the 2016 VR game called Chronos, which some of the gameplay you'll see in the background. My thinking here is that this is not a new game, but rather they took the original Chronos game and just removed the VR requirement. And then they added Before the Ashes to the title. Because in the trailer, you can clearly see how close this resembles Remnant. They're using the same screenshots between Before the Ashes and the original VR Chronos. So for me, this just looks like a re-release. Either way, I'm happy to be able to dive back into more Remnant-style universes because I don't have a VR system, so this one was really off my radar, to be honest. Now, the story here revolves around a young hero who is sent into a labyrinth to stop an ancient evil. And the labyrinth itself is full of puzzles, creatures, loot, all sorts of dangerous things. And looking at the gameplay from the original Chronos game, it looks like this is the exact same labyrinth that we saw in Remnant. And as we look more closely at the original Chronos, this is without a doubt the exact same world. You have world stones, we see an adventurer wash ashore on an island, just like in Remnant, right outside the ward. We see shots of a root knight, we see Geisha, we see another ward, new enemies, and a new world. And from what I've read, this game ends about 1 month before Remnant begins. But from what I've noticed, there is a major difference here in the gameplay that we saw in Chronos versus Remnant, and that's a lack of guns. So it does look like this game is all about melee and spells, which is perfectly fine for me. And we don't know too much about how combat will work or how to intertwine with itemization, but I'm really hoping we see something similar to Remnant because Remnant's system worked out, to me, incredibly well. I really liked the different mod structure, I liked how you could change things, how the appearance changed, and it just felt like you were always progressing in that game. Another interesting system in the game is their death mechanic. When you begin, you will be a young hero that is strong and fast, perfect for melee combat. But each time you die and you age 1 year, so like you go from 20 years old to 21 years old, which seems minor, but each death you're going to lose a little bit of strength and speed, and slowly gain more wisdom and spell power. So towards the end, you're going to be old and slow, but extremely powerful when it comes to spell work. And I think this is a really cool system. It forces a gameplay shift depending on how well your run is. If you play well and die very little, then you're going to finish the game as a strong, close combat character. If you die a lot, like I probably will, then your character is going to go as a brawler and then transform into a wizard. So having something like this is sure to put people outside of their comfort zones, and hopefully they'll have some pretty cool systems in the game that are unique to each playstyle, like a treasure that can only be reached by a high-level spell, or boulders that need to be moved that the older character can't manage. And I mean, the possibilities are really far and wide here, and I think they could do some really cool things with that. I also wonder how much crossover we're going to have with the other Remnant worlds. I can see this game exploring a lot of like the history that we learned about in Remnant, like before the nuke went off on Rom that turned it into a wasteland, or the civil war between factions on Geisha. I think it would be so badass to see just a little bit of that backstory and learn how it ties into the Remnant storyline, but also introduce those new worlds, introduce those new characters we haven't seen. That's really what I'm craving. So right now, that's all we know. Outside of a release date of December 1st, the game's going to be coming on PC, Stadia, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. But if I'm right about this being a re-release, then we should already have a big backlog of info to pull from and understand how this game is going to play out. So what do you guys think? Did you play the original Chronos? Did you skip it like I did because you didn't have VR? Definitely curious to hear what you guys think about this new prequel to Remnant. Let's get a conversation started in the comment section below. But as always, this has been Vulkan. Appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you next time.